identified in the teardown report is not typical. This grinder was installed in 2007 and runs continuously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If there's flow in the sewer system, the grinder runs. At failure, the grinder had performed approximately 70,000 hours of service. Staff feels that a rebuilt grinder should last at least as long, but hopefully longer. Service life does depend on a number of things, including some of the materials that enter the system. During routine service and maintenance, staff has removed sand, rocks, boards, bed sheet, ropes, and other items that are not typically defined as flushable. The purpose for grinders in a wastewater system is to actually do just that, grind up everything that you can into small particles so it actually flows through the pumps through our system. So based on that, staff would recommend a request that Lee Matthews be authorized to complete the repairs to our JWC channel grinder or channel monster or muffin monster in the amount of $74,660. The quote from Lee Matthews was $67,817, but we asked for an additional 10% contingency for items that are not anticipated.
I wouldn't move, but I am going to open the floors for public comments. If anyone has public comment regarding new business item number 1, now is your chance to get up and speak about it. No one coming forward. Questions for Brian about business item number 1? Heath.
Brian, just a very quick question. Obviously, the failure, as we learned in the inspection, it's atypical. It's not something that would have been anticipated.
Correct.
My only question is, once the repairs are made, is it the same situation where the same type of failure should be expected in the future, or once that's happened, is it more likely to happen down the road? Or is it a complete rebuild for most of those pieces, so we shouldn't be able to?
This is actually almost a complete rebuild. There's a few pieces that they're reusing, but any item that failed or showed wear is being replaced. We would not anticipate the same failure again.
So that's why staff would expect to get a longer lifespan.
Right.
Out of that. Did they give you an estimate of what the typical hours of service for one of these machines is expected to be?
We were actually open to get 10 years, so we're a little bit short of that.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions for Brian?
So there's no other way to get this is the only company that repairs this type of grinder?
Well, actually, this is the authorized service provider for this type of the JWC grinder. So if we were to take it to someone else, there's about a $4,000 to $5,000 teardown and inspection fee, which is shown in the report. If we took it to someone else, they'd have to buy the parts from Lee Matthews to put it back in the grinder, so it'd be warranted. So yes, we could take it to somebody else, but we felt this was the best alternative.
But what about, as far as getting second opinions on the costs and bids, is that not necessary in this case?
Well, we feel this was, we didn't know what the problem was, so we had to take it to someone. We felt the authorized service center was the best. They've torn it down and provided us a detailed list of what needs to be repaired. Again, if we use somebody else, we pay that teardown fee. We have to have it put back together, shipped to somebody else. They'll tear it down and in all likelihood order the same parts from Lee Matthews. So, we want that. We want the work warranty. We want the JWC warranty on it. We can do that right now. What we've done, we don't have a grinder in that system, so we have a big screen. It's very labor intensive because all those items I mentioned still are flowing through the system, so we manually have to go out and pull the screen and clean it very quickly.
Steve?
Yeah, I typically, when it comes to larger items such as this, sometimes it actually is more cost effective to replace the item with a new item rather than rebuild an existing machine. Was there any thought given to actually doing a replacement with a more modern piece of equipment?
Yes, it was on the last couple pages.
Okay.
What you have is we actually priced a new one, and it was a little over $147,000.
Okay.
So there's no way I could justify that.
But the technological advancement, would we get longer service life? Would we get a better, more efficient, treatment of the effluent coming through, or is it,
Actually, this is
I'm-
pretty basic. I mean, it's a grinder. I
it's a
mean,
grinder, so it's not really, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just,
You choose it up, so.
I'm trying to look at, all the possible contingencies here. Okay, so you're talking about almost twice as much.
Correct.
To
Actually, a little bit over.
replace it.
Last question would be for Laura. The budget can withhold this unexpected expense or unplanned expense for the year?
You can always make adjustments.
Anyone else? Because if not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move we authorize Billy Matthews, complete the repairs to the JWC grinder in an amount of $74,660, which is the $67,871 plus 10% contingency of $67,889 to cover any unanticipated items.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Freeman, that we authorize Lee Matthews to complete the repairs to the JWC grinder in an amount of $74,660, which is the base amount plus a 10% contingency, to cover any unanticipated items. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we're getting a new channel monster.
A new one.
Rebuilt channel monster, muffin monster. Very nice. Business item number 2, consider authorizing the city administrator to execute amendment number 1 to the management consultant agreement with David M. Green. Cheryl?
Yes, Mayor and Council, the request for this item is to be able to provide coverage for the utility department in the interim while we recruit for utility director. You'll recall back on April 30th, the electric director resigned. Typically, when you have a department head position resign, we have the authority to go ahead and post once we get notice of their retirement or resignation. We didn't, this situation was a little bit different, so we didn't have the authority to go ahead and post for that position. The request is to be able to extend it through November, which would give us sufficient time to recruit for a director. And recruiting for a utility director is an approval that's needed as part of your budget. So I would also ask council to at least acknowledge and approve posting for the position pending approval of the retitling from electric to utilities in the August 5th budget adoption.
Okay, so you're asking us to authorize to execute amendment number 1 and also to conduct a search for the utility director?
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and at least begin accepting resumes for that position.
Okay. All right. Unless you have something to present, I'm going to open the floor to public comments regarding new business item number 2, if there's anyone who'd like to make comments. With no one coming forward, questions for Cheryl regarding new business item number 2?
And Cheryl, I know you and I have talked about this, but I know there's been some questions regarding this particular item. So could you talk a little bit about what you went through to try and get an interim in here, who you looked at, how much the costs were, and why you went with this method?
Yes, well, initially, the way the ordinance was set up, the personnel component was with the board. So it's a little difficult to be able to even really engage in this from an administrative perspective, given that that authority really rested with the board. However, I felt like professionally we needed to have someone to be able to oversee this area. We reached out to several consultant firms, the major engineering firms, the Black & Veatch's of the world, the Burns Mac, CH2M Hill, got some estimates. What we found was that those firms were going to need to send us someone from out of our area to be able to do this. As part of that, we would need to cover the cost of having someone here living to be able to work for us. So we would cover their living expenses, housing, as well as